Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. The Democratic Party wants to run the United States, not just the decaying urban centers and gentrifying coastal pockets, Williamsburg, Baltimore, both Portlands. No, they want to run the entire thing. All 50 states, all 3,100 counties, all 320 million people. Progressives want complete control of all of that, very much including your neighborhood. That's their goal in the coming election. What will happen if they achieve that goal? We don't have to guess. Instead, we can assess a city they already have complete control over and have for a long time, San Francisco, California. Now, if there's any place in the country you'd like to run, because it would be easy, it would have to be San Francisco. The city is stunningly beautiful. It has a perfect climate. It's got solid infrastructure. It has a well-educated population. But more than anything, it has a lot of money. San Francisco is one of the richest places in the world with a never-ending torrent of tech cash. How could you screw that up? And yet take a look at what the left has done with San Francisco.
In some San Francisco neighborhoods, hold your nose and watch your step.
You're seeing people lying on the streets, seeing people passed out on the street. You're seeing people eat out of garbage cans. You're seeing people shoot up.
Adding to the danger, take a look. Junkies are just dumping their used syringes into the streets. Piles like this are commonplace. Most of the needles are handed out by the San Francisco Department of Public Health to help reduce drug-related diseases. But with no reliable way to get them all back, the city is spending $750,000 to hire 10 people whose sole job is to pick up the needles, some 8,000 every month.
Looks like a slum. Bombay, India doesn't look like that. So you'd think it would be affordable, but it's the opposite. Average rent for an apartment in San Francisco right now is about $4,000. The city works only for the extremely rich or the destitute, the billionaires, and the vagrants. Normal people, there's no place for them. Want to raise a family in the city? Good luck. San Francisco now has more daycare space for animals than it does for babies. It is literally a city without a future. Its people can't afford to reproduce. And San Francisco isn't alone. The rest of California's single-party cities are following suit. The homeless population in Los Angeles, for example, is now bigger than any city in the entire state of Vermont. Its filthy tent encampments are incubating diseases we previously associated with war-torn countries.
Over time, squalor built up on the streets with rats feasting on rotting food mixed with sewage and used syringes. But far away from Skid Row, through rats and fleas, typhus traveled through the streets, and a deputy city attorney who works way up on the 6th floor at City Hall got infected.
I felt like I was going to die.
Greenwood says the building has always had rats, but what's changed isn't what's in the building, it's what's around it.
The homeless population has moved closer and closer. They surround the building. So as folks walk to work and back, they are walking through rotting food, raw sewage.
Typhus? What country is this? Who did this? You know who did it. They did the same thing to Sacramento. That's the state capital of California. Homelessness there has gotten so out of control that ordinary people can barely live there.
I just want to tell you what happens when I get to work. I have to clean up the poop and the pee off of my doorstep. I have to clean up the syringes. I have to fight off people that push their way into my shop that are homeless and on drugs because you won't arrest them for drug offenses. I have to apologize to my clients. So I want to know what you're going to do for us, the ones that are unhappy. You want to make us a sanctuary state. You want to make it comfortable for everybody except for the people that work hard and have tried their hardest to get along in life, and now we have to change that because of your laws. So while you sit in your $1 million home and you don't have to look at what we have to look at, there's hardworking people out there that have to deal with this on a daily basis.
It's a disaster, obviously, and yet, remarkably, cities around the country, all of them run by the Democratic Party, are racing to copy California. Washington, D.C. is now covered with tents and filth. Drive around if you don't believe it. Seattle, of course, is too. Portland, Oregon has been almost destroyed by it. We've seen this before. For decades, Americans fled cities to escape from disorder and chaos and crime. New York got so desperate it elected a Republican mayor. And then finally, in the 1990s, the tide turned. Crime fell, and American cities became livable again. Property values rose, poor neighborhoods got better, everyone benefited, and people started moving back. Places that had been shrinking for decades, cities like Washington and Philadelphia, started growing again. It was a great success. But that progress is being reversed now. because on the left, law and order is now regarded as a hateful relic of a less progressive age. Among America's 20 largest cities, San Francisco now has the highest property crime levels in the United States. There are 70 car break-ins every single day. Over the past 4 years, violent crime on the city's BART trains has doubled. That's enabled by rampant fare evasion, which city officials are completely unwilling to stop. Across the country, America's most liberal cities have mayors and DAs who explicitly side with the criminals, even against their own citizens. We're not overstating this. In Dallas County, Texas, for example, the district attorney there, John Crusoe, is refusing to criminally prosecute thefts of less than $750 if he decides this theft was of, quote, necessary items. Okay. In Philadelphia, meanwhile, the top prosecutor is a man called Larry Krasner. He believes American law enforcement is, quote, systematically racist. So he stopped providing law enforcement at all in many places. In that city, prosecutors no longer seek cash bail for what they call low-level crimes. That's a category that includes burglary. Not so low-level if you're the target of it. Shoplifters receive a simple summons to court instead of a misdemeanor or felony charge. The results are not hard to predict. You know exactly what's going to happen when you govern like this, and in fact, it has happened. In 2018, Philadelphia had its highest murder rate in a decade. Compared to just a few years ago, murder has dramatically surged in a bunch of different cities with similar programs: Chicago, Baltimore, Washington. And yet no one on the left seems to notice any of this or care. In fact, they seem to approve, apparently. They'd like the rest of the country to become just like San Francisco. Do you want that?